I see I have been tagged here on YouTube to join a book meme where I talk about some books and then I pick 5 other people and ask them to make videos talking about other books. I don't think I'll participate in part of that because it's already been done. Everybody out there who was going to make a video about books that they've enjoyed probably have already done that anyways. But I wanted to talk about 3 books that inspired me and that I think are worth reading. And these books that I'm talking about are kind of hard to find. They're sort of rare. But I'm going to explain why I think it is worth the effort to go out and find the books and read them. Maybe somebody out there would agree. So join with me now in my library. My library has doggies in it. Having dinner. Here are some of my books. I've covered them. My valuable ones I have in milk crates that are packed so that they're kept safe. I've set out the 3 books that I wanted to talk about. So, gather the books. And back to Desertville Studio. Hal, you're fat. I think that part of what humanity has lost, what has been surrendered to the mechanized, industrialized, mechanized society that a hell of a lot of us live in these days, is we have kind of surrendered our sense of the epic, the heroic, the adventurous. People such as the United States, they may take a week or 2 off on vacation. They might go to the Bahamas. They might go to the Florida Keys. They might see Yellowstone Park out the window of their vehicle. They may never even get out of their vehicle, and they just drive around in the loop. And the sense of adventure, the sense of being part of the epic human adventure that goes back hundreds of thousands of years, seems to me that's been lost to a very great deal. People, from what I can tell, at least in the United States, on the whole, they don't really engage in adventure. They don't take part in the epic struggle that our ancestors lived and overcame, and I think that's a bad thing on the whole. Modern society, technological advances has improved human life in a great many areas, but psychically, emotionally, I think we've lost a whole lot of what it takes, what it means to be a human being. And that brings me to book number 1. Damned and Damned Again by William Willis. It is a book about the escape of an innocent man wrongly convicted on sent to Devil's Island, where he was a prisoner for 16 years for a crime he didn't commit. William Willis, before the Second World War, met a woman whose son had been wrongly convicted in the penitentiary. And after the sentence is up, the prisoners are then sent to the penal colony where they lived out the rest of their lives in abject horror beyond description. Starvation, deprivation, no shelter, no clothing, subjected to the whim of the other colonists. Devil's Island was a hell on earth. The woman and William Willis had never met before, and they just happened to meet one night. And she told William Willis the story of her son being wrongly convicted for murder, and also the actual murderer confessing and writing letters to the French government saying, look, I was the one who did it. This person, Bernard Carnot, the woman's son, completely innocent of that crime. He ought to be let free. Not a goddamn thing happened to get him out of Devil's Island. William Willis, exceptional human being in several respects, such as running away to the sea at the age of 15, where he joined a square-rigged windjammer to transport cotton and stuff across the world's oceans. In all other respects, lived a fairly non-heroic, not adventurous life. Decided then and there he was going to help the woman's son escape Devil's Island. And to do that, William Willis had to subject himself to the horror and the deprivation and the misery and the suffering that the convicts and the colonists on Devil's Island were subjected to also. And he went to Devil's Island under the disguise of a convict himself and suffered what they suffered. Found Bernard Carnot after a horrible long series of just brutal suffering that is these days unimaginable to many of us, and managed to help Bernard Carnot escape Devil's Island, French Guiana. And the epilogue is kind of sad, because then World War II broke out, and the escaped convict, Bernard Carnot, felt it duty-bound to come to the aid of his country, France, and fight the Nazi German horde, and he tried to evict them from French nationals, wherein he died in the attempt. So he was wrongly convicted. The guilty person confessed. The French government ignored the confession, kept him in hell on earth, and he still felt it duty-bound and honorable and the right thing to come to the aid of his country, France. William Willis, the Adventures was actually well before the Second World War, maybe by 20 years or so. But the book was published in 1956. William Willis. Amazing adventure, part of the epic hero's journey that we just don't see in the modern world these days. Which brings me to book number 2. 7 Little Sisters, also by William Willis, the same person. After Devil's Island, after helping somebody escape from Devil's Island, the hell on earth, what the hell do you do for an encore? William Willis decided he would take a voyage on the South Pacific, 6,700 miles, alone on a raft. The original title of the book, I believe, was something about the gods saving him or something like that. He since became somewhat of a fundamentalist Christian, so he changed the title of that book because he didn't like gods plural, I guess. 7 Little Sisters. Another epic, heroic adventure of a middle-aged man who spent 6,700 miles in adverse conditions under what today is considered intolerable suffering and misery and adventure, high seas, starvation, deprivation beyond what is imaginable these days. And there's also some amazing adventures, like not being able to stand and do the work that was required to keep his life going, and somewhere within him he found the will to struggle to stay alive and win through. Amazing human being. And again, this is just one epic adventure that Mr. William Willis, out of his rather ordinary life, decided I'm going to step out of my ordinary life for however long it takes, 2 months, 3 months, 4 months, whatever it takes, and embrace the epic, heroic journey that our ancestors lived with quite often for hundreds of thousands of years. Once again, exploring the human will to seek adversity and to overcome it when he didn't have to. Book 2. 7 Little Sisters. What the hell do you do to encore that? By golly, you do it again when you're much older. Whom the Sea Hath Taken, also by William Willis. Published in the year 1966, I believe. Book 2 was published in 1956. Whom the Sea Hath Taken. When Mr. Willis is much older, he decided, by golly, he would do it again. 204 days alone on a raft, subjected to the whim of the Pacific Ocean. The storms, the gales, the rain, the lack of rain, limited or no water at times, food that would make Rambo gag if he had to eat it. More adversity, more struggle, more overcoming that adversity. And again, subjected himself to this adversity, to this struggle, to become, once again, a part of the epic human struggle to seek adventure that most of us would say, you know, a week in the Bahamas might be enough. Fucking amazing also. Whom the Sea Hath Taken. 3 awesome books. If you are interested in the human plight to seek adventure and become a part of the heroic epic that goes back for centuries and centuries and centuries here in the modern industrialized world, these books might inspire you to maybe join that heroic tale yourself. Could be a week, it could be a month, you could do a year, and of course the actual journey is up to the person out there. You could spend 2.5 years in a cave and write about it. For that was also part of the epic journey. Anyhow, those are my 3 books, and I highly recommend them to people if they are interested in such things.